Hello guys, we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Build Harem with Older Women's, KenjustuNaruto, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. The village of Konoha in the Land of Fire was currently in a panic as it was currently on fire and being attacked by the mighty Kyuubi. Many of Konoha's ninja force were either fighting against the beast or trying to get the civilians to safety. Many were dying in the process. The Kyuubi continued to destroy everything around it until it started to charge up its most powerful attack, the tailed beast bomb. Just as the attack was ready to be unleashed and would have been unleashed on the village if giant red arrowhead-tipped chains didn't suddenly wrap around the Kyuubi's head and forced it to unleash its attack harmlessly into the sky. Uzumaki art. Adamantine ceiling chains. Yelled the voice that the chains were coming from. The chains were coming from a young man standing at 6 feet 2 with lightly tanned skin, deep purple eyes, long crimson red hair that went to the center of his back, and a lean but muscular build. For clothes he wore black steel-toe combat boots, dark red cargo pants held up by his Konoha headband, a short-sleeved black muscle shirt that showed off his rock-hard six-pack, a dark red leather jacket with the Uzumaki swirl on each shoulder in black, and black fingerless gloves. This young man is Naruto Uzumaki, Jonin of Konoha and also known as Konoha's Crimson Demon Wind. Naruto tightened his chain's hold on the Kyuubi and forced it down, but the Kyuubi continued to fight against its biddings. Damn it, where is Minato? I can't hold the Kyuubi forever. Naruto thought to himself. As if hearing his thoughts, a yellow flash appeared next to Naruto showing a man with spiky blonde hair, peach skin, and striking blue eyes. He wore blue shinobi sandals, blue pants, a long-sleeved blue shirt under a forest green flak jacket, and a white coat with red flames at the bottom. This man is Minato Namikaze, Konoha's yellow flash and the 4th Hokage. Well, it's about time you showed up. Did you finish off that guy that attacked? Asked Naruto. No, I managed to hurt him badly but he got away in the end, said Minato, a little disappointed with himself for not finishing off the monster of a man that caused all of this. Don't worry about it, we'll find and deal with him later, now help me with this fox, said Naruto. Minato nodded at this and used the Hiraishin to teleport himself, Naruto, and the Kyuubi out of the village. Somewhere outside the village. Appearing outside the village, Naruto let the Kyuubi free of his chains as he jumped back next to Minato and they both bit their thumbs before going through hand seals. Summoning Jutsu. Both Naruto and Minato yelled as they slammed their hands on the ground. Both summoners were engulfed in giant plumes of smoke. When the smoke cleared, Minato was standing on the head of a giant toad that was colored a dull rusty red with darker red markings on its body. It wore a dark blue coat with the kanji for Toad Boss on the back in red, had a smoker's pipe in its mouth, and a giant ninja blade strapped to its side. This was Gamabunta, the boss of the Toad Summons. Naruto was standing on the head of a giant cheetah that was colored blood red with bright orange eyes and the traditional black spots and facial markings. It had silver-plated armor on its legs, underbelly, and shoulders, and also had a giant ninja blade strapped to its right shoulder. This is Blur, the boss of the Cheetah Summons. On the wall around the village, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, was currently in his battle gear watching the battle that was about to start between the Kyuubi and 2 of Konoha's strongest shinobi. He was not alone as many of the shinobi forces were also watching but were also ready to help if they were needed, but out of all of the shinobi watching, 2 were watching more intensely than the rest. The first was a young Kakashi Hatake, Minato's last surviving student, and the other was a young Yugao Azuki, Naruto's apprentice. We shouldn't be here watching, we should be out there helping them, said Kakashi as he clenched his fists. Calm yourself, Kakashi. I know you want to help your sensei, but this battle will be beyond what you are capable of handling. Have faith that they will succeed, said Hiruzen. Yugao clenched her fists as well. She wanted nothing more than to go out there and help her sensei. When her parents died, he was the one that took her in, he cared for her, he trained her, He was her teacher, her friend, and ever since she learned that he was placed under the CRA in order to rebuild the Uzumaki clan, she vowed that she would become his lover when she was older. She heard and understood what Lord Third was saying, but she didn't care. She wanted to help Naruto-sama. Her Naruto-sama, Yugao, is the same age as Kakashi in this, meaning she's 15. The only thing really stopping her right now is what she remembered her sensei saying to her when all of this started. Flashback. Yugao was doing some late-night kenjutsu training so that she could impress her sensei the next time they trained together. Suddenly she felt the entire village shake and looked up only to see the Kyuubi standing in the village destroying everything in sight. She felt fear run through her whole body as she felt the power coming from the Kyuubi. Then a gust of wind blew by her and her sensei appeared at her side looking a little tired. "Yugao, there you are. I'm glad you're okay," said Naruto. "Naruto-sama, what's going on? Why is the Kyuubi unsealed?" asked Yugao with fear clear in her voice. Sure, she was strong for her age and personally trained by Konoha's Crimson Demon Wind, but she knew she was nowhere near ready for something like this. "I'll explain everything later. I just came here to make sure my cute little apprentice was okay and to ask her a favor," said Naruto while trying to hide his irritation at her calling him Sama. He learned a while ago that she wouldn't stop calling him that no matter what he said. Despite the situation, Yugao still managed to blush at being called cute by her love interest. "What favor, Naruto-sama?" asked Yugao. "I have to go and deal with the Kyuubi before it causes too much damage to the village, so I want you to go to my house and make sure my wife and unborn child are safe," said Naruto. "But Naruto-sama," said Yugao before Naruto stopped her. "I know you want to help Yu-chan, but you know how important family is to me, so I'm trusting you to take care of my family if anything happens to me. Please, Yu-chan, I need you to do this for me," said Naruto as he placed his hands on her shoulders and stared into her eyes. Deep purple stared into watery brown as Yugao found herself unable to deny her master's request. "Fine, Naruto-sama, I'll do as you ask, but you better come back or your wife and I won't forgive you," said Yugao as she hugged her master tightly. Naruto returned the hug with a small smile on his face. "Thank you, Yu-chan, this means a lot to me," said Naruto as he pulled back and looked her in the eyes. "Also, I know about your feelings for me," said Naruto with a smirk on his face as he saw her turn tomato red. "You're so cute when you blush, Yu-chan. I'll tell you what, since you're still so young, if you still have feelings for me by the time you turn 17, then we'll go out on a date. Will that work for you?" asked Naruto. Yugao's blush got even deeper as she simply nodded. Naruto smiled at her before kissing her forehead and then disappeared in a burst of speed. Yugao stood there dazed for a few moments before going to check on her master's family that with any luck would become her family in the future. Flashback end. After checking and making sure her master's family were okay, she came here to help in any way she could and to make sure Naruto kept his promise to come back. "I hate not being able to help, but I know Naruto-sama will be able to win. He never breaks a promise and he's the strongest man I know," Yugao thought to herself. "Alright, Yondaime-sama, I know you can win," cheered a random ninja. "You got this, Uzumaki-sama, show that fox the power of the Crimson Demon Wind," yelled another ninja. "Minato, Minato, 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 Minato," cheered a group of ninja. "Naruto, Naruto, 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 Naruto," cheered another group of ninja. "With Naruto and Minato. So you've summoned me to fight the Kyuubi of all things," said Gamabunta. "Yeah, sorry about that, Bunta, but I really need your help on this," said Minato. "Very well, I'll help out, but I'm gonna need a lot of sake after this," said Gamabunta. "Hello, Naruto, so we're facing Kyuubi. I must say that you do keep things interesting," said Blur. "Well, of course, after all it's only right that we get invited to all the best parties. Now let's show everyone what true speed is," said Naruto. At that point Blur's body started to spark with lightning before he took off at high speed, running around the Kyuubi while Gamabunta used his powerful legs to jump high into the air. Take this, water bullets, yelled Gamabunta before he fired 3 large bullets of water from his mouth. Kyuubi used its tails to block the attack but still became wet, which was all a part of the plan as Blur then rushed in and body checked the Kyuubi, and thanks to the lightning surrounding Blur's body it caused extra damage. This attack combo actually caused the Kyuubi to roar in pain as it was sent back a bit, but the assault wasn't over yet as Naruto jumped off of Blur's head. Uzumaki art. Adamantine drill, yelled Naruto as his chains came out of his back and formed a large drill that he sent into the Kyuubi's chest. This caused the Kyuubi to slide back a bit in pain before the attack stopped. Blur now, yelled Naruto once he landed back on Blur. Right, said Blur before both he and Naruto disappeared in a gust of wind. The wind picked up around Kyuubi before flashes of metal could be seen around it as it cried out in pain. Cheetah art. Cyclone of blades, cried Blur. He continued to attack for a full minute before appear back beside Gamabunta with his blade in his mouth. Minato, feel free to help out at any time, yelled Naruto. Minato simply nodded before he used his famous Haraishin in order to teleport to the Kyuubi and hit it in the eye with a Rasengan. Their attacks though only angered the Kyuubi more and it started to fight back even harder. The fight raged on with Naruto and Minato throwing everything they had at the Kyuubi, but it just kept on fighting even with the 2 large summons attacking whenever they had the chance. Soon though it came down to Naruto using his chains to hold the Kyuubi in place. Minato, we need a plan, said Naruto. I already have one, said Minato. Naruto looked behind him and saw Minato standing over a woman that was sitting on the ground. The woman in question had fair skin, ankle-length crimson-red hair, purple eyes, and slender frame, and DD cup. She was currently wearing a green apron over a cream-colored dress. This woman is Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, Minato's wife, and she is also holding a newborn baby girl in her arms. Minato, what the air Kushina and the baby doing here? Asked Naruto. We have to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto, said Minato, shocking Naruto and Kushina that was what he wanted to do. Minato and Kushina had named the baby Naruto after a character from a book that Minato's sensei, Jiraiya, had written. The character's name was Naruto, ironic enough, but since they had a daughter instead of a boy they named the child Naruto. That's what Minato believed anyway. Kushina in fact agreed with the name decision because she wanted to name her child after Naruto, the person, since he had been such a huge part of her life. He had come over from Uzu with her. He helped Minato rescue her from being kidnapped by Kumo ninja. He beat up anyone he found making fun of her. He helped with her training, and so much more. Minato, we are not doing that. The life of a Jinchuriki is a hard one and I won't have my goddaughter subjected to that, said Naruto. Minato had originally wanted Jiraiya to be the godfather, but Kushina shut that down as fast as Minato brought it up. He's right, Minato-kun. We can't put Naruto through something like that. There has to be another way, said Kushina, since life was already rough for her thanks to not being from the village and people making fun of her for her hair. It only became worse when they found out she was a Jinchuriki. If it wasn't for the friends she made in Naruto, she wasn't sure what would have become of her. There is no other way, said Minato. Yes there is. Seal it in me or back into Kushina, but you are not sealing it into Naruto, said Naruto. He remembered the things Kushina had to go through once the village found out she was a Jinchuriki, and he wasn't going to allow his goddaughter to go through that. But if I seal it into one of you, you'll die. Kushina needs to be here for our daughter, and you have a wife and unborn child waiting for you, said Minato. Minato-kun, why are you talking like you're not going to be there? Asked Kushina with fear in her voice. I'm going to use the Reaper Death Seal. It's the only seal strong enough to hold the Kyuubi, said Minato. Minato-kun, no, said Kushina. She knew what that seal could do and the cost of using it. You're a fucking idiot. How did you become Hokage? Asked Naruto as he started to struggle holding down the Kyuubi. You forget that Mito Uzumaki was a full-grown woman when she sealed the Kyuubi into herself, and she didn't use the Reaper Death Seal. Just use a different seal and then seal it into me, I'll survive just like Mito did, said Naruto. We can't be sure of that, Naruto. Sealing the Kyuubi inside Naruto is our best bet, said Minato. No. Either seal the Kyuubi into me or I let it go, said Naruto. This shocked everyone, even the Kyuubi had stopped struggling at his words. Naruto, you can't be serious, said Minato. I'm beyond serious, Minato. I don't care if our village doesn't have a Jinchuriki, as an Uzumaki family is the most important thing to me, and I won't let my first official act as Naruto's godfather be sacrificing her. So either you seal the Kyuubi into me or I release my chains and you teleport the Kyuubi away, said Naruto with so much conviction in his eyes that both Minato and Kushina believed that he would really release the Kyuubi. This was one of the reasons Kushina admired Naruto so much. He was so willing to sacrifice himself before even thinking of allowing someone else to suffer if he could stop it. Minato was quiet for a few moments as he thought about what to do. It was in these moments that the Kyuubi attacked by sending one of its claws at baby Naruto. Kushina moved in order to protect Naruto and braced herself for the pain of being impaled by the Kyuubi, but the pain never came. She slowly opened her eyes and looked behind her to see what happened. She saw Minato standing there with a shocked expression on his face. Looking further behind her, she saw something that horrified her. Using a combination of his chains, shadow clones, and his own body, Naruto had stopped the Kyuubi's claw, but it had impaled him through the right side of his chest. Naruto! Screamed Kushina. Naruto coughed up some blood but gave Kushina a weak thumbs up, showing that he was in fact still alive. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I have to think of the village. I am its Hokage after all, said Minato as he moved through hand seals. Naruto was horrified by Minato's words. He was really going to sacrifice Naruto just so the village could have a Jinchuriki. No. Kushina. Run. Get Naruto away from here, said Naruto in a weakened voice. Kushina was in too much shock to do anything. The man she loved, married, and had a child with was going to turn said child in a Jinchuriki against her wishes. Meanwhile, the man she had admired for much of her life was fighting to keep that from happening and had even taken a potentially fatal attack just to save her daughter. Unfortunately, while in her shock, Minato had taken Naruto from her and had prepared the sealing ritual. Ninja art. Reaper Death Seal, said Minato as the Shinigami appeared behind him. Minato, stop. Just seal it into me. The village will have its Jinchuriki and Naruto will have a normal life, said Naruto. I'm sorry, Naruto, but this must be done. Just have faith in the village, said Minato. Minato, don't you dare, yelled Naruto. Naruto's cry fell on deaf ears as Minato proceeded to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto, but then something strange happened. Instead of taking Minato's soul, the Shinigami simply sealed the Kyuubi, then left. With the Kyuubi gone, Naruto's chains disappeared and he fell onto his front and started to bleed out. Back in the village, the moment they saw the Kyuubi disappear, the ninja started to cheer, thinking their heroes had won. Hiruzen and a few other ninja including Kakashi and Yugao took off in order to find Minato and Naruto. When they got to the area, they found Kushina looking over her baby, Minato leaning against a rock, and Naruto laying in a pool of his own blood with a hole in his chest. Naruto-sama, yelled Yugao as she ran to him while Kakashi went to Minato and Hiruzen went to Kushina. Kushina, are you alright? Asked Hiruzen. I'm fine, but what about Naruto? Asked Kushina. I don't, said Hiruzen before he was interrupted. Lord Third, Naruto-sama has a pulse, yelled Yugao. Get Naruto, Kushina, and the baby to the hospital now, said Hiruzen. The ninja moved to do as they were told while Hiruzen and Kakashi stayed with Minato. Minato, what happened? Asked Hiruzen. Don't worry about it, Lord Third, the important thing is that the village is safe, said Minato. I see, said Hiruzen. Later at the hospital, Minato, Hiruzen, Kakashi, Yugao, and many other people were currently sitting in the waiting room of Konoha General Hospital waiting for word on the condition of Naruto. They had already been told that Kushina and baby Naruto were okay and just needed rest, but things were still unsure when concerning Naruto. Yugao actually wasn't sitting and was in fact pacing back and forth with worry for her sensei. Sure, he had been hurt before, but this time the injury was caused by the Kyuubi of all things. The rest of the people there were either ninja or civilians that wanted to know the condition of one of their heroes. Suddenly though, the crowd of people started to part and sound of a woman's frantic voice could be heard. "Get out of my way, I have to find my husband. Move, I need to see him," screamed the woman. Yugao instantly recognized the voice and wondered how she knew to come here, but then became worried as the woman was in no condition to be moving as frantically as she no doubt was. The woman finally made her way to the front of the crowd. She was a beautiful woman standing at 5 feet 8 with fair skin, shoulder-length pink hair with a single bang that hung down in front of her face, green eyes, a large round stomach showing that she was at the very least 8 months pregnant, a thick juicy, and swollen that were once cc cup but were now d cup thanks to the milk they were now holding. For clothes she is wearing a gray dress with 3 red circles on the back and the Uzumaki swirl on the front over her heart, baggy dark pink pants, and blue sandals. This woman is Mebuki Uzumaki, Naruto's wife and the mother of their unborn child, and currently she has tears running non-stop down her face. Yugao was the first to run up to Mebuki. "Mebuki-sama, what are you doing here, what's wrong?" asked Yugao. This was her sensei's wife, so of course Yugao was very respectful to her. "I heard rumors that my Naruto-kun was dead, so I rushed down here to be sure. Now where is my Naruto-kun, where is my husband?" asked Mebuki. "Calm down, Mebuki-san, and talk to us. Now how did you hear rumors regarding Naruto?" asked Hiruzen. "Are you kidding? Pretty much the whole village is either cheering that the Kyuubi was defeated or mourning because Naruto-kun was killed," said Mebuki. "If it's really that bad, then I better get out there and keep order. I'll take some Anbu with me just in case things get out of hand," said Minato, heading off. "I'll come with you, sensei," said Kakashi following Minato. Mebuki didn't care about any of that and turned back to Hiruzen. "Please, Lord Third, tell me the rumors aren't true. Tell me my husband isn't dead," said Mebuki. Hiruzen sighed at this as he knew what he was about to tell her was not what she wanted to hear. "Mebuki-san, please calm yourself and sit down. Naruto wouldn't want you going into premature labor due to you stressing over him," said Hiruzen. At his words, Mebuki held her stomach and thought about her baby. Realizing he was right, she took a few deep breaths as she sat down. Yugao quickly sat beside her and held her hand in order to help comfort Mebuki and herself. Mebuki smiled at Yugao. The girl was always a big help to her and Naruto around the house. When she became pregnant to the point of needing help doing things around the house, whenever Naruto couldn't be home thanks to having a solo mission, Yugao was usually the one that he would put in charge of making sure she was taken care of. "Are you calm now, Mebuki-san?" asked Hiruzen. "Yes, I'm calm now. Please tell me about my husband," said Mebuki. "Very well. The truth is we don't know what Naruto's condition is right now. During the battle with the Kyuubi, Naruto was gravely injured and I had him rushed here for treatment when I made it to the scene," said Hiruzen. At this point, Mebuki used her free hand to cover her mouth as fresh tears started to pour down her face again. "Have faith, Mebuki-sama. Naruto-sama is strong and he loves you very much. He won't let something like this keep him away from you and his unborn child," said Yugao. While she may have been worried, she still had faith in her sensei. "You're right, thank you, Yugao," said Mebuki with a small smile. "You know, I didn't even tell Naruto-kun the of our baby," said Mebuki. "How did you forget to tell him that?" asked Hiruzen and Yugao at the same time. "Hey, we've been busy, Naruto, with his missions and training, not to mention my back aches, cravings, mood swings, and aching feet. I just forgot," said Mebuki. "So what are you having, Mebuki-sama?" asked Yugao. "We're having a girl," said Mebuki with a smile. A few minutes later, the doors to the emergency area of the hospital opens and out walks a woman. The woman in question was beautiful with soft white skin, honey brown eyes, blonde hair done in two pigtails hanging down her back, a diamond mark in the middle of her forehead, GG cup, a narrow waist, wide hips, thick thighs, long legs, and a round. For clothes she wore a white doctor's coat, under that is a sleeveless gray kimono-style blouse that showed a great deal of cleavage, dark blue pants, and black strappy sandals with high heels. This woman is Tsunade Senju, the best medic in world and well known as the world's strongest kunoichi. Tsunade, do you have any news? Asked Hiruzen. Yes, sensei. I'll be honest with you, as I can see Mebuki is very worried. Naruto was in terrible shape when he was brought in, as he had lost a lot of blood. It was touch and go for a while, but he pulled through and is resting now, said Tsunade with a smile. She was extremely worried when Naruto was brought in with a hole in his chest. She had immediately gotten to work on him as she couldn't bear to lose him. Tsunade had already lost her little brother and her boyfriend in the Third Shinobi World War and was ready to give up on the ninja life and leave the village, but then she remembered that she still had family in the village in the form of Naruto and Kushina since she was part Uzumaki. It was thanks to them that she got through a dark time in her life, and she didn't want to lose either of them. Oh, thank Kami, said Mebuki. The ninja and civilians around cheered at the news, and the ones that were only there to find out about Naruto quickly ran out in order to tell the rest of the village that Naruto was in fact still alive. Can either Naruto or Kushina have visitors at this time? Asked Hiruzen. Sure. I even have them in the same room, though I would suggest only you, Yugao, and Mebuki go see them, as of course I'll be there and I have Shizune looking after the both of them, and any more people might be overwhelming, said Tsunade. They all nodded at this and moved to go see the two redheads. Naruto's and Kushina's room. Naruto lay in a hospital bed with only his pants on, as his shoes were taken off, and his upper torso was wrapped in bandages with an IV in his arm. Looking to his right, he saw a woman of average height with fair skin, black eyes, shoulder-length straight black hair with bangs that cover her ears and frame her face, a slender frame, C-cup, toned legs, and a plump. She wore a long black kimono with a white trim, held closed by a light purple obi, and black sandals with a low heel. This woman is Shizune Kato, Tsunade's apprentice and Naruto's and Kushina's current nurse. On the other side of Shizune, Naruto could see Kushina holding her baby, who was wrapped in a pink blanket and smiling lovingly at her child. Naruto couldn't see the child due to the blanket. Thanks for taking care of us, Shizu-chan, said Naruto. Oh, you're welcome, Naruto-kun, but you don't have to thank me, said Shizune with a light blush on her cheeks. It was at that point that the door opened and Tsunade, Hiruzen, Mebuki, and Yugao all came into the room. As soon as Mebuki saw Naruto, she immediately ran over to him and hugged him tightly. Mebu-chan, please let go, cried Naruto as great pain shot through his body. Why did his wife have to have such unnatural strength? Sorry, Naru-kun, but I was so worried about you, said Mebuki with tears of joy running down her face as she loosened her grip on him but didn't let him go. I'm happy to see that you're okay, Naruto-sama, said Yugao. I'm pretty sure we're all happy that both of you are okay, said Hiruzen. Where's Minato? Asked Kushina, not noticing that she didn't add the kun suffix to his name. The village is apparently going crazy over the defeat of the Kyuubi and Naruto's supposed death, so Minato went to go calm everything down, said Hiruzen. Oh, okay, that good. I'm actually glad he's not here right now, said Kushina, shocking everyone but Naruto, who was also glad Minato wasn't there. Kushina, what would have you say something like that? Asked Hiruzen. Kushina then explained everything, that from being attacked by a masked man calling himself Madara Uchiha to the Kyuubi ceiling, and got different reactions from everyone. Tsunade was pissed, Shizune, Yugao, and Mebuki were sad, and Hiruzen simply sighed in disappointment. It's decisions like that that prove you would have made an excellent Hokage, Naruto. Why didn't take the mantle when I offered it to you? Asked Hiruzen. Naruto had been the first person Hiruzen had asked to take the seat of Hokage, but he had turned it down, saying that now wasn't the best time for him to take that kind of job. After Naruto turned him down, he only had three options left, which were Tsunade, Minato, and Orochimaru. Tsunade turned him down as well, saying that her work in the hospital was too important, and he actually agreed with her about that. That only left him Minato and Orochimaru, and he sure as hell wasn't going to ask Orochimaru. "Oh come on old man, don't tell me you haven't figured out why I turned you down. I'm about to be a father in a short time, and being Hokage would take away time that I could be spending with my wife and newborn. Maybe in the future I'll become Hokage, but for now I need to be with my family," said Naruto while rubbing Mebuki's stomach and feeling the baby kick. Everyone smiled seeing this, as they all knew Naruto was really looking forward to being a father. "Like I said, you would have been an excellent Hokage," said Hiruzen. "Hey Kushina, can I see Naruto now?" asked Naruto. Kushina simply nodded and moved the blanket some so that Naruto could see the baby. Baby Naruto had pink skin like all newborns, a small tuft of blonde hair on her head, and 3 whisker marks on each cheek. "She's beautiful Kushina, but now I wish I knew what the of my baby was so I could finally start using one of the names Mebu-chan and I picked out," said Naruto. "Oh, what names did you and Mebuki-sama pick out, Naruto-sama?" asked Yugao. "If it's a boy we chose Arashi, and if it's a girl we chose Sakura," said Naruto. "I think it's time you told him Mebuki," said Tsunade. "You're right," said Mebuki as she placed her hand over Naruto's, which was still on her stomach. "Naruto, you may officially call our baby Sakura Uzumaki," said Mebuki with a smile. Naruto's eyes widened at this, but he smiled widely before shifting himself a bit in order to kiss Mebuki's stomach. "I'm sure she'll be just as beautiful as her mother," said Naruto. Well everyone, that's it for this chapter. I hope you liked it. Yes, Naruto is going to be Sakura's father, and that's how I'm going to fix her character to not be a bitch. I know that Mebuki is blonde, but I needed her to have pink hair so that Sakura has a reason to have pink hair. You'll see how I plan to save Sasuke in the next chapter. Also, concerning my Naruto Jagerjaquez story, I'm not getting a clear picture of what you guys want concerning Graphia from the reviews, so I made a poll that you guys can vote yes or no on. So please head to my profile and vote on Graphia's fate. If yes wins, then she will be paired with Naruto and Milika's will have an OC mother. If no wins, well then nothing changes. 16 years later. It was early morning in Konoha, and currently Naruto was fully dressed while standing in the doorway to his backyard and watching 3 young adults train hard. The first young adult was his own daughter Sakura Uzumaki. Sakura was a beautiful young woman with fair skin, bright green eyes. Her long hair was unique as it started off as pink at the top and then became darker as it went down until it became crimson red at the ends, which were at her. Her forehead was a bit wider than average. She had a slim but athletic build, nicely toned legs, wide hips, a plump and C-cup. For clothes she wore knee-high black kunoichi boots, black short tights under a thigh-length dark red sleeveless dress that had the Uzumaki swirl over her heart and the Haruno clan symbol on the back, and black fingerless gloves. She wore her Konoha headband on her right bicep. Naruto smiled as he watched his daughter train, as he remembered his time raising her. The day Sakura was born, Naruto couldn't have been happier. He completely ignored the fact that Mebuki had broken every bone in his hand while she was pushing their daughter out. Lucky for him, Tsunade was easily able to heal his hand. Growing up, Sakura was always a very smart and happy child. Her personality was also the perfect mix of her mother's and his own. He remembered that on her first day in the academy he was called because she had gotten in trouble. Apparently some boys were picking on her for her unique hair coloring in her forehead, and in retaliation Sakura had beat the boys up. She had definitely gotten the Uzumaki temper and her mother's crazy strength. As she got older, Naruto trained her in seals which she took to easily, taijutsu, kenjutsu, a couple ninjutsu, and he taught her how to use her adamantine chakra chains. He also started to become a rather scary father simply because as Sakura grew she became one of the most desired young kunoichi in her class. Naruto had lost count of how many boys he had scared off. Looking at the second young adult, which was also a young woman, Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruko was beautiful young woman with lightly tanned skin, bright blue eyes, long blonde hair done in twin pigtails, 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek, an athletic but feminine build, long legs, thick thighs, wide hips, a round and DD cup. For clothes she wore knee-high black kunoichi sandals, a knee-length burnt orange skirt with a slit on the side and black tights underneath, a black short-sleeved top that strained against her chest, and a red leather jacket that says Foxy Lady on the back in black. She wore her Konoha headband around her waist like a belt. Naruto frowned a bit as he thought about his goddaughter. Her life was hard because her father was a fool. Minato had announced to the whole village that he had sealed the Kyuubi into Naruto. Naruto really wanted to punch Minato in the face for telling a bunch of scared and grieving people that the monster that had killed a lot of their loved ones was now inside of a small helpless child. The day after that, Konoha held a mass funeral for everyone that had died during the attack, and Naruto, with the help of his wife, was able to attend and give a speech. He told everyone that he was sorry for their losses. He understood how it felt to lose the ones you love. He told them to remain strong and to carry their lost loved ones in their hearts, and most importantly he told them how sealing worked and that Naruto wasn't the Kyuubi. Naruto saw that his words had reached a good number of people, but an even greater number had seemed to tune him out when he started to talk about sealing. Over time Naruto not only cared for his wife and baby Sakura, but he also went to check on Kushina and Naruto from time to time. He became extremely pissed when he had found Naruto being beaten by some civilians at age 3. Naruto quickly saved her, then took her to Tsunade in order to be healed of her injuries. When Kushina showed up, Naruto talked to her about the beating and Kushina was horrified. She told Naruto that the civilians and even some ninjas would glare and even insult Naruto, but they had never been bold enough to actually attack the child. From then on Naruto made it his mission to protect Naruto. It got to the point that he checked on her twice a day, and when he wasn't able to do it due to being out on missions, he had Mebuyuki do it since she was a former kunoichi. While this ring of protection Naruto had around her now helped, there were still times Naruto was on her own and would get attacked. Naruto and Kushina had gone to Minato multiple times about this, but Naruto had lost all faith in Minato when the man had the nerve to say that the attacks on Naruto was necessary and that as Hokage he couldn't show favoritism. Minato's and Naruto's friendship had died that day with no chance of being brought back. Things really reached a breaking point when at 6 years old Naruto had saved Naruto from being raped by 4 civilians and 2 ninjas. After saving her, Naruto wouldn't stop crying as she clung to Naruto while pleading for him to never leave her. An hour later Naruto had pretty much forced a council meeting where he brought up an old law where the heir of one clan could stay with another clan if they didn't feel safe with their own clan. Kushina was heartbroken as she saw this as Naruto trying to take her child. She told him that only a clan head could take in another clan's heir. Naruto reminded her that he became the Uzumaki clan head when she married Minato and took the Namikaze name rather than Minato taking the Uzumaki name. Kushina then became devastated when she heard her own daughter admit to everyone that she didn't feel safe at home and wanted to stay with Naruto and Mebuyuki. Ever since then Naruto has lived and trained with Naruto and Mebuyuki, with Kushina visiting every day to see her daughter. Naruto told her he had no problem allowing Naruto to move back in with her, but he also told Kushina to get Minato to pull his head out of his before that could happen. Looking at the last young adult training in his backyard, a young man named Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke had pale skin, black eyes, and black hair with a blue tint that was shaped like a duck's. Naruto had tried many times to get Sasuke to change his hairstyle, but the kid refused. For clothes he wore black combat boots, white cargo pants, a black sleeveless muscle shirt with the Uchiha crest on the back, a dark blue leather jacket with the Uchiha crest on the back, and his Konoha headband tied around his forehead. Naruto frowned as he thought about how he became more involved in the boy's life. He had been on his way to visit the boy's mother Makoto since she and him had been friends since the academy, though he hated her husband. While on his way there he got the feeling that something was off. This worried him because whenever he got feelings like that it meant something bad was happening. He made his way the Uchiha compound as fast as possible and was horrified to see the bodies of many dead Uchiha. His horror lasted only a second before he ran off to find Makoto. Naruto arrived at the clan head house just in time to save Makoto from being killed by her eldest son Itachi. Naruto counted himself lucky for this because Sasuke was there and had apparently seen Itachi kill their father. Naruto and Itachi fought for roughly 30 minutes with each of them having wounded the other before they sensed Minato and a squad of Anbu coming towards the compound. Itachi told Sasuke that he wasn't worth killing and if Sasuke wished to kill him then he would need to hate and feel nothing but hate and acquire the same eyes as him, then ran off with Naruto deciding to stay in order to make sure Sasuke and Makoto were alright. Things were hard for a while after that because Sasuke had taken Itachi's words to heart and went from a happy little boy to a brooding emo. Makoto didn't know what to do. Seeing Makoto struggle with her son Naruto decided to help out. Naruto visited every chance he got in order to talk with Sasuke. There was no progress at first but after a while Sasuke began to open up to Naruto. Naruto was able to convince Sasuke that if he wanted to kill Itachi for what he did then that was fine but he shouldn't do it out of hate as hate would only get him so far. Makoto was extremely grateful for Naruto's help as she could see her son slowly letting go of his hate. She also noticed that Sasuke had started to look up to Naruto. One day after seeing Naruto training both Sakura and Naruto he asked Naruto to train him as well. He had expected for Naruto to tell him that he didn't have time to train him as well but he was greatly surprised when Naruto simply smiled and said sure. Now Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke could almost always be seen together, they were like brothers and sisters. Naruto was really happy for this as Sasuke had helped scare off a few boys that wanted to date Sakura and Naruto, mostly Kiba Inuzuka who just wouldn't take no for an answer. With today being team placements Naruto truly hoped that these three ended up on the same team as they worked so well together. He had already recommended them as a team to Minato but he wasn't sure if Minato would listen. Guys, that's enough training for now, come have breakfast before you head off to team placements, said Naruto as the three young adults stopped training and followed Naruto into the house. In the house Naruto and the three young genin walked into the kitchen and found Mebuki cooking breakfast while looking as young as she did years ago. The only real difference was that even after she finished feeding Sakura her hadn't shrunk back to their original size. Not that he was complaining, he loved his wife the way she was but he did enjoy playing with her larger. Sitting at the table was Naruto's second wife Yugao, wearing a simple pair of gray sweatpants and a dark purple short-sleeved top since she had the day off. Yugao was an Anbu captain and she had started dating Naruto 14 years ago. They were married 3 years after they had started dating. Yugao would admit that the time she had to wait in order to start dating Naruto was torture for her. Naruto had suggested that she try to date someone else but no other boys interested her. The very second she turned 17 she went to Naruto's house and asked him for a date. Naruto accepted but since it was 12 a.m. they had to go on the date later in the day. It always embarrassed Yugao to remember just how eager she was to go on that date. Sitting next to Yugao was Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze wearing her usual attire. If you are wondering why she is in Naruto's house, the reason is she and Minato are separated and she moved in with Naruto and his family 2 years ago. They separated because no matter what Kushina said or showed to Minato he would do nothing about what the villagers were doing to Naruto. She couldn't take how he was treating their daughter so she moved out while telling him that she wouldn't be back until he could be a better father. They've tried to fix things but every day it looks more and more like they'll get a divorce. Sitting across from Kushina is Makoto Uchiha. Makoto is a beautiful woman with fair skin, black eyes, long black with her bangs roughly framing her cheeks and eyes. nicely toned legs, a plump and juicy, and D-cup. For clothes she wore a dark purple blouse, a red plum skirt, and black sandals. Makoto was at the Uzumaki house simply because most of her friends were here and she knew her son would be here. Makoto was very grateful for everything Naruto had done for her and Sasuke. He had pretty much helped put their lives back together. He had even offered to let them stay with him so that they wouldn't have to be in that compound with all those bad memories. She thanked him for the offer but declined as she felt she didn't deserve his kindness. You see, she knew why Itachi had killed their clan as she knew about the coup they were planning. She knew she should have said something as many innocent people would have died in the coup. She didn't say anything though because she was too conflicted on what to do. Should she tell the Hokage about the coup or should she say nothing and help with the coup? In the end she did nothing as she didn't help with the coup and she didn't tell the Hokage. In truth she knew the coup wouldn't have succeeded simply because of one person, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto was so protective of those he cared about that Makoto was sure that he would cut down a whole village just to protect one person that he cared about, and Fugaku's plan to win the coup relied on using one person that Naruto dearly cared about, his goddaughter Naruko. Makoto knew that the moment Fugaku sent anyone after Naruto would cut them down without remorse and then once he found out about the coup the Uchiha clan wouldn't have stood a chance. Makoto had spent many days silently wishing that Naruto would stop being so kind to her as her inability to do what was right would have caused so much suffering for so many people and she knew Naruto would have never forgiven her if he ever found out that she had actually considered helping her clan and what it would have meant for Naruto. Everyone sat at the table while Naruto helped Mebuki serve everyone a plate. Once everyone was served, Naruto sat at the head of the table with Mebuki next to him and everyone started to eat. So are you guys ready for team placements? Asked Naruto. Hell yeah, said Sakura. Sakura. Language, said Mebuki. Honey, Sakura-chan is an adult now so she is allowed to say such words, said Naruto. I don't care if she is considered an adult, I taught her better than to use such language, said Mebuki. Anyway, what team do you guys hope to be on? Asked Naruto. Well, I for one want it to be the three of us, but if that doesn't happen then I should be fine as long as I'm not on a team with Kiba, said Naruto. Sasuke, said Naruto with narrowed eyes as he thought about Kiba. He had caught the brat ogling not only Sakura and Naruto but also Mebuki, Kushina, Makoto, and a bunch of other women around the village with lustful eyes. Don't worry, I'll make sure he keeps his hands to himself, said Sasuke. And as far team placements go, I'd prefer being on a team with Naruto and Sakura but as long as I'm not on a team with fangirls I'll be fine, said Sasuke. Him and Naruto shivered at the mere thought of fangirls. I'd also like for the three of us to be on a team, but just like Naruto if we aren't on the same team then I should be fine as long as I'm not on a team with Kiba, said Sakura. Naruto nodded at this before looking at Sasuke who was drinking some orange juice. So Sasuke, have you asked Yakumo on a date yet? Asked Naruto. Sasuke quickly spitted out his juice before coughing and pounding his chest with his fist. What? No, yelled Sasuke making everyone else lightly laugh at him. Why is it always the guys with the most fangirls that can't ask out their crush? Asked Naruto. Oh, leave Sasuke-chan alone Narukoi, if I remember right you were the same way back in the academy, said Mebuki. No I wasn't, I remember asking you out plenty of times while in the academy just like I remember you telling me no plenty of times, said Naruto. You told daddy no mom? Asked Sakura. Well, said Mebuki. She sure did. In fact if I remember right the only reason she told him no was because she though boys liked it when you played hard to get, said Kushina with a smirk. Kushina, yelled Mebuki with her face being red from embarrassment. That's why you kept turning me down, yelled Naruto in disbelief. Group started to laugh at the situation before calming down and finishing their breakfast. Well, that was delicious as usual Mebu-chan. Now if you excuse me I have to go as the Hokage has called me to his office, said Naruto before he stood up and kissed Mebuki on the lips, then he did the same to Yugao before disappearing in a burst of speed. Speaking of going, we really should be going too, guys, said Sakura, with Naruto and Sasuke agreeing before they placed their dishes in the sink, said goodbye to their moms, and then left for the academy. Do you think they'll end up on the same team? Asked Mebuki. We can only hope, as that would be one powerful team. I really hope they get a good sensei though, as they'll hate it if their sensei doesn't train them as good as Naruto-kun trains them, said Yugao. True. What do you think Minato wanted to see Naruto-kun about? Asked Kushina. I don't know, but I hope it's not a surprise mission again, said Makoto. Yeah, the kids really don't like it when they come home and Naruto Koi is just gone, said Mebuki. Hokage office. Naruto appeared in the Hokage office and immediately stood at attention with a straight face. You wanted to see me, Hokage-sama, said Naruto. He never called Minato by his name anymore. Naruto, I have two important things that I need from you for the good of the village, said Minato as he laced his fingers in front of his face. What would that be, Hokage-sama? Asked Naruto. The first thing I need is for you to be a team sensei, said Minato. That is surprising, Hokage-sama, but if you really want, then I shall be a sensei. Have you already picked my team, or do I get to pick? Asked Naruto. Teams have already been made and assigned, with the senseis finding out about their teams in a bit. The second thing I need is much more long term, I guess. Kumo is trying to form an alliance with us once again, said Minato. Are you sure this is a good idea, Hokage-sama? The last time we tried to form an alliance with them, the Hyuga heiress was almost taken, said Naruto. That was the work of the Raikage's council, not the Raikage himself, and this time is different, as this time it's a marriage contract, said Minato. And you want me to be the one to marry someone from Kumo? Said Naruto, already seeing where this was going. Actually, the Raikage insisted that it be you. Apparently you impressed a lot of Kumo ninja with your sword skills and the respect you showed your enemies. The Raikage and I have talked about this and have come to the agreement that you and whoever the Raikage puts in the contract will have dual citizenship, making them not only a member of Kumo but also Konoha. We've also decided that the Raikage will send over 25A rank lightning jutsu while you will teach some genin a bit of kenjutsu, said Minato. Naruto sighed at this, as he would have to explain this to Mebuki and Yugao. Very well, Hokage-sama, will I at least get to meet this woman before I have to marry her? Asked Naruto. Yes, you will, as you don't have to marry her right away, you both have to actually spend some time together in each other's village, said Minato. Naruto nodded at this before he sat down in order to wait to find out who will be his genin team. It didn't take long for the other Jonin senseis to show up, consisting of Asuma Sarutobi, Kurenai Yuhi, Kakashi Hatake, and some random Jonin. Naruto's eyes scanned over the Jonin and he became worried, as he knew most of the random Jonin, Asuma, and Kakashi would be horrible teachers for Naruto and even Sasuke. Alright, now that all of you are here, it's time to look in on the genin and find out your teams, said Minato as he took out his crystal ball, but before he could activate it, the clan heads came into his office. Honorable clan heads, what are you doing here? Asked Minato. We just wished to know what teams our children will be on, Hokage-sama, said Hiashi Hyuga. Hiashi had long brown hair, pale skin, and pale eyes like all Hyugas. For clothes he simply wore cream-colored robes. Very well. Watch closely, everyone, said Minato as he activated the crystal ball. The academy. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were in hell as they were surrounded by fanboys and fangirls. Kami, they couldn't wait for this to be over. The three quickly went to the back of the classroom in order to get to their usual seats. Hey Sakura-chan, Naruto-chan, how about both of you sit next to a real alpha? Said Kiba Inuzuka. Kiba had lightly tanned skin, black slit pupils for eyes, and red fang markings on his cheeks. For clothes he wore black sandals, black pants, a black leather jacket, and his Konoha headband on his forehead. No thanks, said Naruto and Sakura at the same time as they walked right past Kiba. Oh come on girls, I know your dad told you not to date while in the academy but we're ninja now, besides you girls need a strong alpha male like me, said Kiba. Hokage office. Did you really tell the girls that they couldn't date in the academy? Asked the Inuzuka clan head and Kiba's mother Sume. Sume was a beautiful woman with lightly tanned skin, wild brown hair, black slit pupils, red fang markings on her cheeks, dark purple lipstick on her lips, a nicely toned body, DD cup, and a large firm. For clothes she wore the standard Konoha Jonin uniform. No, but I did tell them to not let boys get in the way of their training. If they found a boy that they liked and wanted to date I would support them, but if they started to slack in their training then I would put an end to it, said Naruto. The academy. They said no Kiba, let it go, said Sasuke. Naruto and Sakura were practically his sisters and he was sick and tired of the horned dog of the academy hitting on them. Just stay out of this you bastard, we all know you just want to keep Naruto and Sakura to yourself, said Kiba with a growl. That not it at all you idiot, I promised Naruto I'd keep perverts away from the girls and you are clearly a pervert that I need to keep away from them, said Sasuke. Alright boys calm down, there is no need to start a fight. For your information Kiba daddy never said Naruto and I couldn't date, we just didn't want to. And Sasuke we're thankful that you're looking out for us but we can take care of ourselves, said Sakura. Yeah thanks Sasuke but we've got this. And Kiba Naruto-kun isn't my dad, he's my godfather, said Naruto. With that done the three sat in their seats and ignored Kiba. So forehead how are things at home? Asked Ino Yamanaka. Ino was a beautiful young woman with fair skin, pupil-less bright blue eyes, platinum blonde hair done in a ponytail with her bangs framing the right side of her face and covering her right eye, a very curvy and toned body, long smooth legs, a plump, and D-cup. For clothes she wore purple shinobi sandals, mesh armor on her knees, thighs, and elbows, a knee-length purple apron skirt, a purple high-collared sleeveless blouse that exposed her midriff, and silver stud earrings. Shut up pig and things are fine at home, why do you want to know? Asked Sakura. Despite the name calling Ino and Sakura are actually pretty good friends. Well Sakura I just wanted to be sure about what situation I'll be in when I become your new stepmother, said Ino. Would you stop saying that? Said Sakura. What? It's not my fault your dad is drop dead, oh the things I plan to do to that man, said Ino with a blush on her cheeks and a perverted smile. Hokage office. I'll kill you, yelled Inoichi Yamanaka, father of Ino Yamanaka. Inoichi pretty much looked like an older male version of Ino and for clothes he wore the standard Konoha Jonin uniform. Currently he is being held back from trying to kill Naruto by his closest and oldest friends Shikaku Nara and Choza Akamichi. But I didn't do anything, whined Naruto. Shut up, you shut your filthy mouth, yelled Inoichi. The academy. What the hell Ino don't talk about my daddy like that. How would you like it if I talked about doing perverted stuff with your dad? He's a handsome guy and I'm sure I can talk him into doing some things, said Sakura though on the inside she felt disgusted with herself. Hokage office. I'll kill you and eat your soul, yelled Naruto. This time everyone including Minato and his hidden Anbu were holding back Naruto from getting to Inoichi. The scary part was even with everyone holding him back Naruto was still slowly making his way towards Inoichi. Kurenai was blushing a bit as she could feel the muscles of his right arm flex in her grasp. Sume on the other hand was grinning ferally as she purposely felt up Naruto's hard and sculpted chest. But I didn't do anything, whined a now very pale Inoichi as he had just remembered who he was dealing with. This wasn't some hormonal teenage boy but Naruto fucking Uzumaki, Konoha's Crimson Demon Wind, the man known to kill hundreds of ninja with no evidence of him being there other than a gust of wind and sprays of blood. The academy. Nice try forehead but we both know my dad isn't your type so your little taunt won't work, said Ino with a smug smirk. Damn it. Sakura thought to herself. Fine so he's not my type, It's still not cool for you to be talking about my daddy like that, said Sakura. Oh please forehead, you say it like I'm the only one talking about him like that. Well, maybe I'm the only one talking about him like that to your face. I think you've forgotten that Hinata and Hanabi have been crushing on him for a long time now, said Ino while pointing at the two girls. Hinata was a very beautiful girl with very fair skin, pale lavender tinted eyes, waist-length dark blue hair, a very voluptuous figure, thick thighs, wide hips, a narrow waist, a plump and large DD cup. For clothes she wore blue shinobi sandals, dark blue pants, a heavy cream-colored coat with fur around collar and on the cuffs, and her Konoha headband around her neck. Hanabi is Hinata's twin sister and also a beautiful girl with fair skin, pale eyes, long dark brown hair that went past her hips tied in a ponytail with a white ribbon with two shorter strands in the front with pink ribbons on the ends. Her body was slim but nicely toned. She wasn't gifted in the chest area like her sister as she had B-cup, long legs, a narrow waist, and her best asset was her thick and juicy which was bigger than even Hinata's. For clothes she wore a long-sleeved tan kimono with reddish-orange flame designs on the cuffs, a matching knee-length skirt, and blue shinobi sandals. In fact, Hanabi once said something about asking her father to set up a marriage contract with that tall drink of delicious man, said Ino. Hinata was blushing bright red from having her feelings for Naruto talked about so openly. Hanabi on the other hand just smirked confidently as she wasn't ashamed or embarrassed by her feelings for Naruto. Hokage office. Everyone was waiting in order to stop Hiashi from trying to kill Naruto. Well, everyone except Sume who was still feeling up Naruto, but they were surprised to find Hiashi looking like he was actually considering it. I approve, said Hiashi. The reason for Hiashi approved of this was because Naruto was good friends with his deceased wife Hitomi due to them being on the same genin team. When Hitomi died after giving birth to their second daughter, he had started acting very harsh and cold to Hinata due to her reminding him so much of Hitomi. That changed though when Naruto found out and literally knocked some sense into him. After that, Hiashi apologized to his daughter and started being a real father to her. He saw that his positive attitude towards Hinata made a great difference as her skills greatly improved, but the damage was done as most of the clan still saw Hinata as a failure. In Hiyashi's mind, Naruto was possibly the only man worthy of his daughters.